Morning all. Alright, so we've got 3 games tonight in the NHL, which means I do combine the preview with the news of the day. And there is some news to discuss today. So, 3 games tonight. We'll get this out of the way first. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. The Buffalo Sabres and the Columbus Blue Jackets meet up. They've had a couple of entertaining games so far this year. On December 19th, Columbus won 9-4. On December 30th, it was a 3-2 overtime win for Buffalo. So Buffalo and Columbus, this is the rubber match. For Buffalo, they're closer to the playoffs. They're 25-27-4, which means they're not really close, but they're still closer than Columbus. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. Their power play clicking at 15%. Their penalty kill at 80%. They're scoring 2.93 goals per game, allowing 3.05 goals per game. So, of course, the goals for have got to come up for them. On the Columbus side, they're 18-27-10 overall. They're 4-5-1 in their last 10. Their power play 14%. Penalty kill 76%. 2.96 goals scored per game. So that's actually higher than Buffalo's, but their goals against much higher than Buffalo's at 3.73 goals against per game. Keeping in mind that Buffalo's goals against have been getting brought down by UPL. Luukkonen's been fantastic. 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, the Winnipeg Jets and the Chicago Blackhawks in what is the fourth and final meeting for these teams. Winnipeg's won 2 out of 3. December 2nd, it's a 3-1 win for Winnipeg. December 27th, Chicago won in overtime 2-1. And January 11th, it was a 2-1 win for Winnipeg. So none of these are really blowouts. Winnipeg 34-15-5 on the season. They are 4-5-1 in their last 10 games. 17% on the power play, 77% on the penalty kill. They've got to improve those numbers. Scoring 3.06 goals per game and allowing 2.35 goals against per game. So now the goals against have started to come up. The goals for has got to come up as well. Chicago 15-39-3, but over their last 10, 1-8-1. 13% on the power play, 77% on the penalty kill, scoring 2.07 goals per game, which is not great. Allowing 3.53 goals against per game, also not great. So we'll see how that one goes tonight. But again, despite how different these records are, these teams have been close when they played against each other so far this year. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific start between Minnesota and Edmonton. First 2 meetings, relatively high scoring. October 24th, Minnesota wins 7-4. December 8th, Edmonton wins 4-3, so maybe take the over. Minnesota 26-24-6, and considering the way their games have gone lately, maybe take the over anyways. They're 6-3-1 over their last 10 games. Their power play, 23%, one of the highest numbers on the board today. Keeping in mind Chicago, Columbus, and Buffalo are on the board today. But yeah, still 23% is not bad. 74% on the penalty kill. That number does need to come up. They're scoring 3.11 goals per game. So they're scoring more goals per game than Winnipeg, but they're allowing 3.34 goals against per game. Edmonton 33-18-2 on the season, 6-3-1 in their last 10 games. 26% on the power play, 79% on the penalty kill. They're scoring 3.58 goals per game and allowing 2.94 goals against per game. So Edmonton's numbers have been excellent, and even though they've settled down a bit after that huge winning streak, they're still pretty firmly in a playoff spot. Although I've seen the comments of, now they won't make the playoffs. I'm pretty sure they're going to make the playoffs. I would probably take them over Minnesota tonight, but Minnesota's been wildly unpredictable, which makes sense because they are called the Wild. All right, moving into news of the day for all you fine people on the internet, starting with Jack Hughes. Is he healthy? Is he not? I think it's how the question's phrased. So last night after the game, and Jack Hughes hasn't been producing as well since the injury, and since returning from the injury as he was before. And so questions naturally are going to get asked, and Hughes is saying that he's 100%. That, yeah, he's having trouble making some plays, but he is 100%. When Lindy Ruff was asked, he said no, he's not 100%, but he also said no one is 100% this time of year. So it may very well be that the way that Ruff takes the question and the way that Hughes takes the question is different. Ruff may be saying, you know what, everybody's banged up this time of year, so he's not 100%, nobody is. And Hughes is saying, I'm as close to 100% as I can get right now. I feel good. I feel like I should be producing. So I think if New Jersey was one of the top teams in the league right now, this probably wouldn't be getting as much attention as it is. But yeah, there's some questions in New Jersey about, I know with Lindy Ruff, there have been a lot of questions recently. And of course, they need a goalie. New Jersey needs a goalie who's reliable. To go with, I would say with Nico Daws or Akira Schmid, whoever they decide is the better of the two. and go from there. It just feels like there's no faith in Vanacek at this point. But again, we'll see what New Jersey does. We've got 2 weeks left, 2 weeks from today until the trade deadline. So we'll see. Adam Ruzicka is expected to be waived for contract termination. So when that's happened recently, that's meant that a player's got a chance to go over and play in Europe. And so contract gets terminated here. They go over and play in Europe. That's likely what it is for Ruzicka as well. Arizona picked him up, of course, from Calgary, I believe just via the waiver wire. And, rather than going down to play for Tucson, makes sense if he doesn't want to do that to terminate his contract, and then he can sign in Europe. So there's some concern for TJ Oshie coming out of last night's game. He got injured. It was an odd injury. He ended up having to crawl off the ice. And so the Caps are concerned. They're going to evaluate. Oshie posted to Twitter/X that he'll be back. There's no timeline that I've seen with that. So, I mean, yeah, we would expect he'll be back at some point, but when is the question? So, with Oshie's injury history, which is a lengthy one, you should rightfully have some concerns at this point. And with the Capitals' position where they are when it comes to chasing the playoffs, being kind of perilous, they're going to need Oshie back, I would say, sooner rather than later. But yeah, so let me know your thoughts if you're a Caps fan on Oshie's potential injury. Speaking of potential injuries, Tkachuk and Forsling both got hurt in that game against Carolina last night, which felt like playoff hockey. And they're both considered day-to-day, both Matthew Tkachuk and Gustav Forsling. They're going to be evaluated today, and then we'll probably get a better idea for the timeline, but right now it's considered day-to-day. And then we'll see if that does change after that assessment is made. So we're going to wade into this discussion again. Mark Chipman giving an interview to The Athletic and saying that basically the attendance level in Winnipeg is not sustainable for the long haul. And he made it clear he wanted to say for the long haul. Obviously, if you're going to talk about the Winnipeg Jets, you're going to talk about attendance. And if you're going to talk about profitability, you're going to lead to some fans being concerned that maybe the team might end up being moved. And that's the way that's going to be, because we've seen this with Winnipeg before. So Mark Chipman is concerned with the low season ticket base in Winnipeg. And they're trying their best to bring former season ticket holders back by offering them tickets to a game so they can come out and see the product and see how well the team's playing this season. And so we'll see how this goes for them. Of course, Winnipeg was the easiest sellout in the National Hockey League for a long time after their return, but that enthusiasm's died off. It really has. And so, yeah, we'll see if the Winnipeg Jets can get that back for their team. I really thought that the run they were on helped the ticket sales, and it seems to have brought their ticket sales up, but it's not at a level that Chipman is all that happy with. They're not selling out every game anymore, and since they have a smaller arena, it's important to sell out those games. And also, Winnipeg doesn't have the kind of corporate dollars you're going to have with New York or Toronto or any of the big locations, so it means the gate receipts are that much more important. It means that your profitability is going to be more razor thin than it might be somewhere else. So Chipman's trying not to cause any sort of panic. You could see in some of the article that he's trying not to panic people. He's not saying, I'm going to move this, that's it, we're done. But yeah, it's not sustainable where it is right now. So we'll see what the Winnipeg Jets do. I remember having some concerns with the size of the arena when they announced that they were going to be going to MetLife Center, and thinking it sounded small for an NHL arena, and we'll get to the small NHL arena. We will discuss that. Yeah, the university, I know. Yep. But, yeah, we'll see what happens with the Winnipeg Jets, because, again, they're going to have to get creative. It is a small market. You don't have the same size ticket base you're going to have in a Toronto or a Vancouver or Montreal. So they're going to have to probably get kind of creative to bring fans back. And we'll see how that goes for them. Because I think if you have a team that's playing as well as Winnipeg has this year, and you're still not seeing a full building every night, I do agree with ownership that should be concerning. But we'll see how it goes. Speaking of concerning, yeah, I tried to make that work. I don't know if it did or didn't. But Rick Tocchet, after the game last night, kind of blamed himself. He said there wasn't too much compete from the guys. But I'm reading between the lines on this a little bit. Like, he was complaining about the plays that were made and how they got really sloppy. And, you know, kind of if they'd been a little bit cleaner around the puck, they probably would have won the game. And that wasn't playoff hockey. So if they think that's how playoff hockey is going to be, they're in for a rude awakening. But I do think that with Tocchet, because remember, earlier in the season, he had no problem with calling out individual players, but then it would just, you know, blast all over media everywhere. And he felt like it got blown out of proportion. So, you know, there was a recent interview where he said, yeah, I guess I'm just going to have to, you know, quiet those kinds of comments down. It does seem like he's not going to criticize the players in front of the media, which is great. I think that's fine if he wants to take that tactic, because Vancouver can be a brutal market that way. But it's clear that something's slowly gone wrong with the team. And so, and again, you know, I talked about earlier in the season, their play was a lot of fun to watch, but with their shooting percentage and save percentage being as high as they both were, that was seen as not necessarily being sustainable. It doesn't mean they're not a good team. It just means that at some point in time, we knew that there might be a bit of a fallback. And so we've seen that. Now they have the game tomorrow night against Boston. I haven't seen a Canucks team that's not up for the game against Boston in a long time. So I would think that might be the perfect elixir for what they have going wrong. And coming back home might be the perfect elixir for what's gone wrong too after a rough road trip. I don't think the game in Minnesota was one that they took well. I do feel like some of that kind of stuck around them for the rest of the road trip, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Canucks between now and the trade deadline. There's also reports of how much money was offered to Pettersson before the season started. And when I saw that, I thought, so did the Canucks leak this, hoping that the media might throw some heat towards Pettersson? Or, again, because for that number to get out, somebody leaked it, or somebody's making it up, because it's that time of year, right? But at any rate, I don't think people are making it up. It seems odd to make something up like that. But anyways, we'll see what happens with the Canucks this weekend. This is why I'm telling people, just enjoy the ride, just enjoy it. I did that last year with Boston during the regular season. I've been doing that this year with Boston, Dallas, Vancouver in the regular season, just enjoying the ride, knowing that at some point in time, it's going to end for at least a couple of them, right? They can't all win the Stanley Cup. So, and after last night's games, well, we'll see how it all turns out. So, getting back to Arizona Coyotes news. So, of course, we do not have anything about a new building yet. We keep being told that it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Don't worry, it's coming. But they did say, they've reported that 4 of their home gates made over $1 million, which is good money. That is good money. And for the Coyotes, that's important money. Their gate revenues being reported as the 4th highest they've had in their history in the desert. And people will say, well, you know, they haven't made a profit and all this. That's true. It's true. Profits have been elusive. But they do fill the Mullet Arena. Like, I keep seeing people saying, oh, they can't fill a university arena. I haven't seen anything about them not being able to fill it. I understand it's 4,600 people. I get that. But it's full. And then I see the comments of, well, I watched the game. Most of them were fans for the other team. Right, but it's a full arena. So it doesn't matter. If you buy tickets to a game anywhere and you're a fan of the other team, you've still paid money to watch that game in that arena. So, I mean, unless we hear reports that the Coyotes are papering the arena, like giving away free tickets. But I haven't seen that either. So, yeah, they're filling the Mullet. And at this point in time, it feels like we're kind of in limbo. Because until the situation with the Coyotes gets cleared up, we're probably not going to hear a whole lot more about expansion. And I do wonder if the Jets situation is one that's going to cause the NHL some pause too. Like, I don't think it's going to help having Mark Chipman come out with his comments about the Jets. And then Gary Bettman's coming to town on Tuesday. So Bettman coming to town, it can be like, you know, he's there for happy reasons. Sometimes he's there to chastise a fan base or an arena or, you know, the city, as was the case with Calgary when they were going through their tough times. So, yeah, we'll see. Because, again, you have to have a healthy 32 franchises. I will agree with that if you're going to look to go beyond that. And right now, there's definitely some questions to be asked. So there was a minor trade last night in the NHL. I considered pausing watching 8 games to report on it, and I thought, nah, probably shouldn't. So Alex Nylander has been acquired by the Columbus Blue Jackets, along with a conditional 2026 sixth-round pick, going to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Emil Bemstrom. These are both young players that could use a change of scenery. They're both talented players. They're both guys who have not quite lived up to potential, and so they move on to a new franchise. For Nylander, the talent is there. It's just it hasn't translated at the NHL level. Bemstrom, it's been frustrating. There have been times where he looks really good, and then there's games too where he's just kind of invisible. That you'll hear his name when you're watching the game, and you'll think, "Oh yeah, Bemstrom is in this game. All right, interesting. I had forgotten." And of course, they've both spent time in the AHL as well. So we'll see if a change of scenery works for one or for the other. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event that you have not done so already. I forgive you. Just fix it. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.